Well, after 2 weeks of international break, we are finally back with match week 4 of the Premier League. It is third place Arsenal taking on 10th place Nottingham Forest at the Emirates Stadium, and we're off and running with kickoff. Well, a lot has happened for Nottingham Forest over the 2-week break. They have sacked Nuno Espirito Santos. He was a dead man walking, wasn't he, last season when that interaction with the manager, with the owner rather, just spelled dead end for him. But now it's a new look Nottingham Forest team here. Not many in terms of substitutions, but the way that Ange Postecoglou has sets up his team and how advanced forward they like to be. Very, very curious to see how quickly the Nottingham Forest players learn the methods and implement that on the pitch. As for Arsenal, they've already been tested with their bench strength already. Their squad depth is being put to use already. No Saka, no Saliba, no Declan Rice in the team too. So a lot of changes that Mikel Arteta has been forced to make. Declan Rice is fit to be on the bench, of course. Mikel Merino is playing as that left-sided number 8 role, as Gabriel's pass has been easily pinched away here by Milinkovic. On the left-hand side, here's Callum Hudson-Odoi. Quick feet here. It's Gibbs wide. He tried the clever reverse. It's well defended. Well, Forest on the ascendancy already here. They have Arsenal on the back foot. Neco Williams playing as right back today. Goes back to Elliot Anderson, whose stock keeps on rising every time he represents England. He seems to have the trust of Thomas Tuchel already, which bodes a good season here for him. Might end up in a starting berth in the World Cup next season. As for Arsenal, they would have been very disappointed in the manner in which they lost that game against Liverpool. The champions have been flawless in terms of their points achieved, regardless of not being the best on the pitch so far, but they've been picking up the points, and that's been the most important thing. That Dominic Szoboszlai free kick was absolutely ridiculous. Late on as well, it was a heartbreaker for Arsenal. Might have thought that they had done just about well enough. They're trying to push the ball forward here. Arsenal have been trying to be as measured in their approach. You talked about the new debuts in the likes of Ebre Eze getting his first start for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta held him back against Nottingham Forest. Against Liverpool, didn't he? A lot of people thought that they might just chuck him in as that centre forward option on that left hand side. Oh, it's a loose pass given away. Arsenal have not get to get the ball stuck on the deck. Forest looked pretty comfortable in the early stages. Can clip past there by Neco Williams. Ooh, Calafiori strong in the challenge there. I think that's Dan Njai on that right hand side. Not easy to get past Calafiori. He was outstanding against Mo Salah. I thought the way that Calafiori defended 1v1, he was very aggressive. Also used to make those forward runs to stretch the pitch, and he'll be doing a lot more of that in this game, that's for sure, which will allow Ebre Eze to drift into the central areas. As Enjoy has asked for a bit of sympathy, he gets absolutely none, and he'll have to get on with it. Good call there from the referee. He might have been raked on the side of the shin here. Calafiori is aggressive. He's touch tight. He's made sure that pass option by Neco Williams wasn't there. You can see what he's ushering there. He might have a case, Calafiori, very clever to do that on the blind side of the referee, but that's some good old school defending. Ange Postecoglou, well, he's gotten a side and he's inheriting a philosophy that could not be more different in the way that he sees football. So that's going to be the challenge for Ange Postecoglou. How quickly does he translate those ideas and those values in the way that he approaches football? Because Nuno Espirito Santo is more of a, I would say, a low block manager. conserve your energy, hit them on the counter-attack. Ange Postecoglou likes his centre-halves to operate far up the pitch as fullbacks are flying forward. As Arsenal trying to get a bit of movement here. Merino, clever pass. It's a bit heavy here for Odegaard, but look at the work here from Nottingham Forest. Quickly back into their shape here. It's nicely done there from Gabriel. He's got a new centre-half partner in Christian Mosquera, who looked very assured at Anfield as Madueke's clip ball into the box. Well defended by Murillo. Can Elliot Anderson get there first? He can. Here's Hudson-Odoi now, has to do all by himself. Well, there were 3 Arsenal players just hounding him there. Well, Elliot Anderson immediately in the thick of things. They're having to do a bit of that defensive work that Nuno Espirito Santos will want his 2 pivot players in Elliot Anderson and Ibrahima Sangare to implement on the pitch. Decent first touch. That's a very clumsy challenge there by Chris Wood. It's a needless free kick to concede. I mean, you know how dangerous Arsenal are with set pieces, and you applaud the effort that Chris Wood has made to run all the way back, but to make the challenge in that fashion is, well, it's poor, and it will be compounded if Arsenal can score from here. Well, it's Martin Odegaard on that right-hand side half space who look to try and clip this into the area between the back line and the goalkeeper. So Martin Odegaard, who had a brilliant performance in international break alongside Erling Haaland, so confidence will be coursing through their veins here as Odegaard clips the ball in towards the back stake. It's well defended, surely there by Merino. What a save by Sells. Well, it was surely Arsenal to open the scoring there. It's a real melee, and Forest have cleared, and if they can get that right, the counter-attack was on. Well, the game started pretty passively from both teams, and just like that, the game nearly bursting open there. Merino, who nearly scored, now looking to feed the ball into the channel for Gyökeres to chase after. Well, there is an Arsenal player on the deck, which is Martin Odegaard. What a save that was from Sells. Look at this. He has no time to react. The header from Sangare is right into the path of Mikel Merino, whose eyes light up. Right-footed effort. Matt Sells makes himself as big as possible. It's a big, big save. Oh, you can see the challenge there by Morgan Gibbs-White on Martin Odegaard. So it is a high challenge. He's caught him probably on the ankle area, and it is a painful one for the skipper, who wasn't fit enough to start at Anfield. Gets the nod and sees Declan Rice hold the bench here. Matt Sells, the Belgian goalkeeper, plenty of experience. I remember last season against Chelsea where every time we played Forest, Matt Sells was an absolute unit, a brick wall to try and get past. The way he senses danger, his positioning is top class, as Odegaard is still not back onto his feet here. Last thing Arsenal will want is yet another injury, especially in the early stages. Remember, they lost William Saliba in the 3rd minute at Anfield. Mikel Arteta said that he wasn't fit to start. They pushed him, which was a bit unnecessary, especially a game at that magnitude. 3-4 minutes before Christian Mosquera slotted in seamlessly. But now Arsenal have a corner here without their skipper. It's Madueke's left-footed corner. Gabriel will be the obvious target. Gyökeres, Christian Mosquera, plenty of height in the Arsenal. You see there they've got Merino, Calafiori. So Nottingham Forest have to be switched on here. Tottenham had a lot of problems under Ange at set pieces as Madueke delivers. Well, it's a shot off target. It's Gabriel's header by the looks of it. Nottingham Forest don't deal with the immediate danger as Noni Madueke's clip ball into the box. Well, having got there, Gabriel, can you want to see someone a lot more physical to try and block off Gabriel than likes of Endoy, because that's a mismatch. He gets a run off, and once Gabriel builds ahead of steam, I mean, he's almost impossible to stop in those areas. Here's Murillo. Nice line breaker there, but it's been well intercepted by Yuri and Timber. On the front foot here, Marino on the right-hand side to Madueke. Takes a very heavy first touch. He's almost trying to bait the defender and then go forward, trying to just push and run past Morato. Wasn't having any of that, the Brazilian fullback. Joined from Benfica last season. Played quite a few games, if I remember correctly. Neco Williams and Morato trying to be that fullback partnership to impress under Ange Postecoglou. As I mentioned before, we saw in Spurs where he had Destiny Udogie and Pedro Porro on that as the two fullbacks, and how much demands were put on them. Destiny Udogie is still suffering from those injuries. Arsenal have given the ball away here. It's Hudson-Odoi. Onto the right-hand side is Neco Williams. Might shimmy this onto his right foot here. He does. He creates separation, and David Raya with a good grasp there. Nottingham Forest are asking questions. They're not sitting back here. It's Dan and Doy who had just fizzed the ball into the interesting area there. You see that Chris Wood had just peeled off Christian Mosquera. Here's Zubimendi playing as the number 6 with a 36 on his back. Heavy first touch there by Gabriel and recovers. Ooh, that is a very heavy touch there from Gabriel Magalhaes. A lot of the South American players who had international duties will find, especially the early kickoff, to be a real hurdle. Heard Enzo Maresca talk about the South American contingent for Chelsea, the likes of Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. Will they, João Pedro, Estevao, will they all be fit enough to start the game, considering their long travels and international exploits? But here's Madueke, brilliantly skips past the challenge and then clips in a beautiful ball in. It was Zubimendi who's made the run by the looks of it. Or was that Mikel Merino? I think it was Merino. Bright start this from Noni Madueke. He just floats that into the area. Here's Hudson-Odoi to Elliot Anderson. That's a very good pass there. Beautiful movement here from Morgan Gibbs-White, getting involved in the build-up. Here's Elliot Anderson again, but this time Arsenal pinched the ball. Chris Wood will have his hands full against two very physical centre-halves in Gabriel and Mosquera. Here's Mosquera. Was he £10 million signing from Valencia? It already looks like an absolute snip. What was going on in the Valencia negotiation room? I'm sure he had just 1 year left on his contract, but 10 million for a Spanish centre-half. Value for money indeed, especially how you see that Saliba will be missing, 3 to 4 weeks. Here's Madueke now. Timber, comfortable playing as the fullback also. The way that he drifts into those central pockets. Again, Mosquera face back there, and David Raya is well off his line. Does manage to clear. That's a risky strategy there by Morato, and Gyökeres can chase after this. It's a good pass here for Ebreze. First touch. Ebreze gets a deflection straight in the hands of Sels. That's the first time that we've seen Ebreze get involved in the build-up. Morato has let the ball bounce, and once you let the ball bounce, you're in all sorts of trouble. Gyökeres does well to hound him down. This is a very good pass on his left foot. Instant control there from Eze. You can see what Eze was just trying to do. They just shift it onto that right-hand side and curl that into the far corner. Nice tempo to the game already. Good to see that. You can always have that international break hangover, don't you? Teams just taking a bit of time to get going. Here's Gabriel. Arsenal started a third before kickoff. Have an opportunity to go momentarily top of the table if they win the game today. Ange Postecoglou has kept a pretty solid shape here for Nottingham Forest. They're not in a deep block by any means, but they are pressing Arsenal, not allowing them to play through the midfield areas where The likes of Zubimendi, brilliantly done there, and Arsenal progressed the ball magnificently well, and Odegaard's pass is shocking. Oh my goodness. Well, the way that Arsenal build out from the back, Martin Zubimendi under immense pressure picks out a brilliant pass. A couple of passes later, Arsenal are in business, but Martin Odegaard's passing, oh man, that is such a letdown. 15 minutes on the clock. Again, aggressive defending by Calafiori. Murillo's strong, gets the slide challenge. Elliot Anderson with some more expansive passing options that he is trying to use. And now it's a ball to enjoy, and Arsenal are very good defending the wide areas. Here's Ebreze. Oh, drops the shoulder beautifully. Brilliant bit of skill there from Eze. Here's Odegaard. Oh, he loses the ball there, but credit to Murillo who read that perfectly well. There's a snap, there's a bite to the game already. Drop of the shoulder there from Ebreze. Just shows you in a glimpse what he's all about. Noni Madueke has gotten a lot of plaudits with his performances in the last couple of weeks. And there's Edu, who was formerly part of the Arsenal backroom staff. Now joins Marinakis and Nottingham Forest. They were unfortunate really to miss out on Champions League football last season. They were a point behind Newcastle in 5th. So that was a very tough pill to swallow for Forest and everyone involved. Instead, they will play Europa League, and they're not going to risk Odegaard any longer here. And Ethan Nwaneri has been readied for action here. But Martin Odegaard has suffered 2 injuries in his first 4 games, I would like to say. It was a heavy challenge there by Morgan Gibbs-White. He's caught him flush on the ankle, and you can see why he did misplace the pass in the counter-attack. But the Arsenal skipper is being applauded by his home fans here, as Arsenal have to make a change here. It is Ethan Nwaneri who's coming on. Brilliant player, especially in those pockets. Immediately gives Arsenal a bit of that extra zip between the lines. Ethan Nwaneri and Mikel Merino offering different problems for the Forest players. The change has been made, and well, there's no Declan Rice on the pitch. I think the captain will be Gabriel Magalhaes, if I'm not mistaken. From Postecoglou's point of view, well, objective 1 ticked. I mean, first 15 minutes, make sure that keeper doesn't have too much to do. Well, the chance that did fall to Arsenal fell off, well, an errant header really from Ibrahima Sangare. Other than that, Matt Sells has not had too much to do. Oh, brilliant bit of skill there. I think it's Gibbs-White who just tries to add that bit of electricity in the forward areas. Well, Gibbs-White's career, future, everything could have been a whole lot different if he had made that move to Spurs. His release clause was triggered by the North London club. That was shut down immediately by Marinakis. Made him sign a new contract. And Spurs instead go and signed Xavi Simons from PSV. So, Leipzig rather. So, everybody wins, I guess. And Nwaneri with a brilliant turn first up. So good in those tight areas. Here's Madueke. He's been pulled back. Might be a foul. Murato is trying to be touch tight in the defending. He has to be. Oh, they've fallen asleep here on the right-hand side. Here's Nwaneri immediately looking to make an impact. Oh, the run to Urian Timber. Well, Timber had made the run, but the pass wasn't accurate. Instead, Nwaneri fetches his own pass. Arsenal on the front foot here. Pretty much controlling territory at home against Forest. I want to see a bit more decisiveness in the final third, but Nwaneri just showing you in 2 glimpses what he's capable of doing. The way that he just turns away from trouble. That low center of gravity really does help, doesn't it? Here's Nwaneri, back to Mosquera. Again, inviting the Forest press. Like now, Forest just thinking about putting the full press, but they know that Arsenal are capable of playing out just like that. And now Urian Timber have a bit of space on the right-hand side. Gives it to Noni Madueke. Here's Madueke looking to play the 1-2 here with Gyökeres. Well read there by Murillo. His game reading has been spot on, but his passing doesn't match it. There's no one really there to aim at, but that's a couple of occasions where he's read the danger, come out with the ball. He needs to try and find Chris Wood with a lot more accurate passing here. Here's Ebreze though. Zubimendi. Starting to see a lot more of Zubimendi. You can see why Arteta was absolutely delighted to have him after Liverpool is subject to a move. Here's Madueke, does brilliantly again. It's a ball into the box. Well, Gyökeres does not jump. He gets his head to it. And Noni Madueke has put in a couple of decent deliveries, especially on his weaker right foot here. We expect him to cross on his his stronger left foot. And instead, as a fullback, I really do empathize with Morato because you want to show him down the line. And that's exactly what Madueke has done. Shapes it in with his right foot. Milinkovic doing very well to get that defensive header. Under a lot of pressure, he had the likes of Mikel Merino, who is a known box crasher, and Victor Gyökeres. Here's Murillo. Morato. Brazilian connection there. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Trying to just get past Mosqueros, having absolutely none of that. Brilliant play. Here's Vanieri now. Looking to run into that right-hand side half space to Madueke. Again, Madueke trying to bait his England colleague, Elliot Anderson. Madueke wants that run from Jurrien Timber. Seems to me that Jurrien Timber is going to be playing in those midfield areas a lot more rather than overlapping Madueke. Madueke is a lot more, well, proficient is one word. His skill set is hugging the touchline, so you don't really want two players in that same area. So that's why you'll see Jurrien Timber in that midfield pocket. On that left-hand side, Ebreze will drift in, and it will be Calafiori holding the width. There's Madueke, wriggles away from the challenge, and Murillo again. It's just brilliant defending from the Brazilian man. He's so switched on. He knows that Madueke is looking to shift it onto his right foot again. It's another corner for Arsenal. Not halfway through the first half. Nottingham Forest. They have to be careful about set pieces though. This is the third or fourth one that Arsenal have had. Again, the massive units that Arsenal have are looking to attack the box. Nicholas Jova getting a bit of camera time here. Arsenal with their second corner. It'll be Madueke again on his left foot this time. Ball into the box. Very good header. Oh, it's Vanieri's shot, which is well blocked. Will Forest get the ball away? Here's Zubimendi now. Decent clip ball. Well defended by Milinkovic. And Doi shows great strength to hold off the challenge here. And tries to go around Calafiori. Calafiori, good sliding challenge there. And Nottingham Forest now just looking for a bit of forward momentum. They've done the first part well here. That first part of the first half, make sure that you don't concede against Arsenal, because if Arsenal score that first goal, all that pressure gets lifted off, and then you'll see a lot more of those clever passes, those touches around the corners that can make it very difficult to defend against. Chris Wood and Gyökeres haven't had too much to do so far. The two centre forwards, two big units, aren't they? Might be a foul there, surely. I think Elliot Anderson getting knocked off the ball. Yep, Martin Zubimendi. Not the tallest, but good jump on the Spaniard. Arsenal are building a Spanish core, aren't they? With the goalkeeper, David Raya, Mosquera, Zubimendi, Mikel Merino. They might not be starters for Spain, but they're very much in the Spanish setup. So, decent policy here from Arsenal. Technical players, bit of strength. Well, Arsenal have had all the set pieces go their way so far, but Forest have defended well. But now Forest have an opportunity. I don't really understand the ref cam. It doesn't really add to the game as much as they thought it was, as Murillo flicks the ball into the box. He's got hold of his jersey there. Well, Timber has to be very careful. I mean, I don't understand why defenders do that, especially grabbing hold of the jersey. It's a subjective call, and you can easily go against you. Here's Anderson. Murillo goes back to Sells, who's a massive reason as to why this game is still 0-0. What an outstanding save that was from Mikel Merino's close-ranged right-footed effort. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Not looking to take on Jurrien Timber yet. Madueke a bit unnecessary there, just trying to barge him off the ball. Forrest getting on with it quickly. Hudson-Odoi in a central position here. Gibbs wide. What a pass that is onto the right-hand side. Can he get there first? Neco Williams, he can't. Clever idea there from the Forest skipper. Picks his head up immediately and just whips that ball between the centre half and the fullback. That's the channel. Very difficult, but I think the way that Calafiori has defended has been very good. 25 minutes played. Arsenal searching for the goal here. Forest's team is very good. Nottingham Forest should have a good season. What a touch. That is brilliant. Does it stay in on the left-hand side? It does. Here's Merino. I think that was Jokeric's touch. That was brilliant. And Mikel Merino just labours with the ball instead of trying to take advantage with it. Here's Mosquera. There was an opportunity there to just drive the ball into the box there from Merino. Instead, Arsenal back into their on-the-ball shape here, the back three. Now you can see Calafiori in the midfield pockets. Wanyeri. Again, a lot of interchangeability in the Arsenal midfield by the looks of it. You can see now a lot of movement happening. So for the Forest players, they have to keep an eye. Because if they're going man-to-man, you can see, say, Ibrahim Sangare is trying to man-mark someone like Ethan Wanyeri. And Wanyeri drops very deep. Do you try and follow him or do you stay in position? Looks to open it up just like that. Beautifully done. Here's Zubamendi on the right-hand side. Drifts into the central area. It's Ebre Eze. The ball doesn't sit up nicely. Ebre Eze shifts and shoots. It's well blocked again. Well, Eze is just itching to get his debut goal for Arsenal, isn't he? Can Arsenal maneuver the ball through the gears in that midfield area very nicely? Is that interchangeability we told you about. I mean, the way that he just shifts the positioning and suddenly you see Zubamendi, who's supposed to be the number 6 player on that high number 8 position on the right hand side, and suddenly Forest are chasing shadows. Here's Merino. Mosquera. All the good football that Arsenal have played, they need to do a lot more of the final third actions here as Timber now drives into the central area. Clever pass, Zubamendi, first time layoff. Ooh, the first touch there from Jokeres. Gets away from him. It's Madueke, it's Jokeres, and it's Murillo again. What a first half this has been from the Brazilian centre half. Everything he's blocked, he's read, and he has intercepted has been to perfection. Lange pass to Koglu. He'll be relieved that it's still 0-0, but his heart will be beating with every set piece that Arsenal win here. It's their third corner already. It's Madueke who's taken all 3 for Arsenal, and this is dangerous territory, really, because you're getting a lot more repetitions, especially in the game now. Madueke's ball in. Sells stays at home, and I think it's Gabriel again who gets his header, but the last touch comes off the Forest defender. Well, by the disappointment on Jurrien Timber's face, it seems that he might have gotten the decisive touch. Let's have a look here. Oh, well, it's so hard to defend those. Good ball in there by Madueke. Well, Arteta knows that his team are getting closer and closer with these set pieces. The 4th corner for Arsenal now. It's Madueke not looking to play anything short. Everything has been whipped in towards that front post. Arsenal attack with 4 or 5 players at the far stick and then make that inward run. It's a nightmare to defend against. Another good ball into the box. I think that's Murillo again, isn't it? Brilliant. Madueke recycles, reloads. Oh, Sells takes a safety first approach. Concedes yet another corner. Might have let that one go, but as he says from his body language, and there's not much I could have done because there was no real shout for him. And if someone had made that run behind him, Forest could have been in a lot of trouble instead. It's Arsenal's 5th corner, first time on the other side, which will be taken by Eze, he had to really get in the thick of things. Had a couple of shots, but needs to be a lot more involved in the build-up as Eze delivers the ball into the box. Good ball in, sells punches well. Here's Madueke on the right-hand side. Again, brilliant burst of acceleration is into the box here. It's Noni Madueke, and it's another brilliant block. Is that Murillo again? Well, Madueke is causing all sorts of problems. It's Murillo. Superb defending. And Madueke is a defender's nightmare, let alone a winger who's trying to track back. Ndoye trying to help out, and he just gets blown past. Well, Murato, where is the left back? Well, you cannot leave Noni Madueke by the right winger by himself. I mean, that's criminal defending, really, from the Brazilian. Bailed out by his fellow Brazilian in Murillo, who's had an outstanding first half, really, but he's limping. Well, Madueke has had a good start to the game, causing all sorts of problems. That Noni Madueke enters the box, I said this during his Chelsea days as well, is unparalleled because of his explosiveness, his acceleration, and his awkward dribbling ability. He's a nightmare to defend against. It's all about that final action, which is lacking for him. It's a brilliant volley. It's Martin Zubimendi into the top corner. Oh, wow, what a goal that is. Martin Zubimendi on the volley. Could not have struck that any sweeter. No chance there for Matt Sells. And Arsenal are in front. Martin Zubimendi, take a bow. He has been more and more influential as the game has gone on. But this strike from Martin Zubimendi, good header, but it's straight at him. Might have taken a slight nick of Murillo, but take nothing away from the strike. It's hit flush of the right boot of Martin Zubimendi. Wow, what a goal. What an explosive start. It's the kind of goal that just breaks the game open. And Arsenal have the lead. Well, Mikel Arteta was completely blown away by that finish. Really did strike that so well. Well, that's what happens when you leave one of the midfield players completely unmarked outside the box. Anything that falls to them, with the ball striking abilities of most midfielders these days, you're asking for a lot of trouble. But what can you do, really, when someone strikes that on the volley such as that? Well, Forest's afternoon is going from bad to worse here. Not only have they conceded, they also seem to have lost Murillo here. It's a left quad problem, and Nottingham Forest might have to make a change here. Man who's been nearly flawless in all of his defensive actions might have to come off here, and Forest will have to recalibrate. Need to see a lot more of Ibrahim Singare. We have seen nothing of him in the midfield with Elliot Anderson. Need to combine a lot more, take a bit of pressure off the Forest defence. Arsenal have popped the ball well on a few occasions. That strike from Zubimendi was so crisp. Well, what a way to score your first goal for your new club. It's a good defensive header there, but it falls so kindly there to Zubimendi. Needed no second invitation, plenty of room. Wow, what a strike that is, man. Especially when you strike that so cleanly. Well, Arsenal needed a moment of magic, and they've got one courtesy of their new summer acquisition in Martin Zubimendi. About £50 million on the north of that region from Real Sociedad. He's been an immediate fixture in Mikel Arteta's team. I mean, he's wasted no time. He has solidified that number 6 position. Ange Postecoglou now will, I think he'll kind of favour this, as weird as it sounds, because it now forces Forest to go out there and search for solutions in the final third, because They've played well in the mid-block region, but going forward, we haven't seen too much. We've seen nothing of Chris Wood. Gibbs White really hasn't really combined with Callum Hudson-Odoi too many times, so we need to see a lot more of that. So that goal might have just woken up the Forest players. Now knowing that the game is in jeopardy now, because Arsenal are very much capable of just seeing this out. Well, Murillo is soldiering on. I don't know how sensible this is. He can barely walk. He's hobbling on one leg. This is not wise. He's back into the box though. It's Gabriel with the strike. Blocked by Gibbs White. What are they doing here? We talked about Forest not having too many injuries last season, but now under Ange Postecoglou, especially what we saw of Tottenham Hotspur and how their players suffered because of his style of play and the demands that are required to play in the Ange Postecoglou system. Well, it's his first game really, so you can't really attribute it to Ange Postecoglou, but it's very easy once that reputation sticks, you know. But they are not going to take a chance here. Zubimendi again. Well, that one had not enough dip on it. Sat up nicely there. He is not trigger shy, is he? He is looking to hit that. Sits up very nicely again. Why not? He might have not had enough dip to beat Sells in that central position. Yep, Murillo. I don't understand that. They forced him to hobble about 40 yards, try and defend that situation and then go down. I mean, now he has to walk back again. I mean, you're just adding in. Just making him walk extra. Just get him off the pitch. I mean, do less damage. Murillo is a competitor. He is an absolute warrior. I mean, but he has to be taken off here. And rightfully so. Well, huge lift here for Arsenal as Nottingham Forest have had to make the substitution here and not the player that they would have wanted to lose here. And it's Murillo who goes off and it's Nicolo Savona, the Italian centre-half. First time that I'll be watching him in action, the 22-year-old centre-back. Newest acquisition for Nottingham Forest. Has to build that partnership very quickly with Milinkovic. Well, Murillo, the first casualty after the international break. Unfortunate for him. Might miss a couple of weeks with those thigh and quad problems. Well, Forest have a free kick here, and about 7.5 minutes plus stoppage time remain as Elliot Anderson hangs this ball outside the edge of the area. Might be a foul in favour of Arsenal. It is. Milinkovic a bit too forceful at the back of Calafiori. Well, Murillo unfortunately has to limp out of the game. Arsenal getting a double boost here after the goal. Oh, clever back heel there by Ebreze. Arsenal again, like I mentioned before, as soon as they get the goal, Arsenal start popping the ball around with that extra bit of confidence, and that's when they can be very dangerous. So that first goal is so crucial. Good rotations here from Arsenal. Here's Gabriel. Here's the goal scorer, Zubimendi. Well, Arsenal have conceded just the one goal so far in about 3.5 Premier League games. And it took an absolute stunning free kick from Szoboszlai for Arsenal to concede their first goal. So Forest will know that it's not as easy as it looks. They have to try and open up the Arsenal shape here. They've had no attempts. This shows you how well Arsenal have controlled this game here. But it breaks nicely on the right-hand side to Dan Ndoye. He's got movement into the box. The ball in is absolutely terrible. Atrocious delivery from the Swiss right winger. I mean, that is so bad. It's the first time that you've gotten an opportunity on that right-hand side, favoured right foot, put in a decent ball. Because you know that Chris Wood will need all the help that he can, and you end up putting a ball out of play. Crossing is a lost art, isn't it? Here's David Raya. Finds Wanyeri. Wanyeri is dropping almost as a number 6 here. Not the first time that I've seen that, so just shows you the rotations that are happening in the Arsenal midfield. Oh, it's an errant pass there by Timber. Sangare dispossesses him, and on the right hand side, here's Ndoye. Now a lot of space. Can his delivery be better? It has to be better. Instead, he feeds it onto the right hand side. The pass is poor. Again, it's overhit, and Mikel Merino just comes across, makes the interception, but concedes the corner. 5 minutes plus stoppage time remain in this first half. Looks like it is Nicolo Savona who had made that run down that right-hand side. And Arsenal looking to keep the clean sheet heading into the half-time break. Forest haven't really threatened. They've had their first corner, and they've had no shots on the Arsenal goal so far. So they need to try and change that statistics. They've got 5.5 minutes left. Bit of stoppage time too as the ball into the box. Well defended. Well, Sangare will sweep up. Goes all the way back to the goalkeeper. Can't beat Arsenal in their own game here. As Neco Williams on the left-hand side now. Decent acceleration. Finds Milenkovic. Well, Milenkovic and Murillo have formed a formidable partnership over the years. That's a clever pass. And Ndoye has now found himself on the left-hand side up against Christian Mosquera. Good defending by the Spaniard. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Has to take him on here. Hudson-Odoi decides against it. Well, the Hudson-Odoi of old, you'd really want him to see him go at the full-back. On that occasion, it was the centre-half Mosquera who was defending the wide areas. He does it very well. Good challenge there by Elliot Anderson. Strong play there from the midfielder. This is better here from Forest. Sustained possession in the Arsenal half here as Neco Williams has found himself a bit of space on the left-hand side. That's a poor pass there from Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's hoping that the last touch came off the Arsenal player. It hasn't. It's a goal kick, but Hudson-Odoi has not had a good first half here whatsoever. He's not taken on his fullback once in the game. Let's see there. Does he have a case? Even if he had taken a touch, if he didn't have taken a touch, I don't think that's reaching Williams, It was far too overhit. Well, Arsenal did this in the first half against Liverpool. They didn't allow touches in the opposition box in the first 28-30 minutes. That set the tempo nicely. Just shows you that you are limiting any sort of threat from the opposition while having threat of your own. Played that nicely here. Here's Sangare. Chris Wood. Sangare again. Heavy first touch. That is a very clumsy touch. And Zubimendi gets it quite comfortably off him. Here's Timber now. On the right-hand side is Madueke. Thought about the first-time cross. It's Madueke on his left foot. Eased out of the way. Elliot Anderson. Brilliant from him. Anderson showing his off-the-ball work. And how well he gets into those challenges and interceptions. Again, long ball forward, which is easily dealt with, but Morgan Gibbs-White feeds it onto the right-hand side. Here's Ndoye. Again, has to look to take on Calafiori. Instead, stops here. Well, we've seen both wingers not really looking to take on the Arsenal fullbacks. Don't think they want to lose the ball, and they know how well the Arsenal defenders are, especially in those wide areas. Timber's one-on-one defending is excellent. Calafiori is aggressive and doesn't allow you space. So you can understand the reluctantness of why the wingers don't want to really go after the fullback, because they lose the ball and then suddenly you're in trouble. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Timber follows him all the way back. The foul given. Minute remaining of normal time here. Arsenal looking to take their slender advantage courtesy of a Martin Zubimendi pile driver off a Noni Madueke corner. Here's Elliot Anderson. Beautiful one-touch football here by Forest this time. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Again, not looking to take on the man. Feeds Neco Williams instead on the left-hand side here. Up against Timber. Williams trying to drive the ball into the box. Good defending there by Timber. Ange Postecoglou will be plotting his way back into this contest here. Would love to take a point at least from this tough away ground for him. Tests don't come as difficult as that, do you, in their first game for your new club up against Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Here's Morato. Decent touch there by Anderson. Lovely spin there from the Englishman. Clever attempt at the pass. Gets it back though. Here's Morgan Gibbs-White. Touch beautiful. Gibbs-White. Well, the setup play was exquisite. The finish doesn't match it. Elliot Anderson with the spin finds Gibbs-White and then plays a sublime 1-2 here with Chris Wood. Gets it back and he's just trying to whip that into the far corner with minimum back lift. Can't get that anywhere near the target, but the best bit of football that Nottingham Forest have played in the first half here. Here's Zubimendi. Driving forward, heavy pass. Trying to find Ebre Eze. Well, Eze has been holding the touchline on that left-hand side a lot more, so that's why we haven't seen too much of him. He's gotten lost in the game. Like to be operating in more central areas, but seems that Calafiori is being preferred to be playing as that inside presence. Here's Marino. Again, rotations happening time and time again here. Now you can see Zubimendi as that left-sided 8. Wanyeri playing as the number 6 here. Calafiori as the right-sided number 8. It's all happening here in the Arsenal midfield. Here's Madueke now looking to take on his fullback for the umpteenth time. As another ball into the box, well defended. Mosquera goes all the way back. Well, about a minute and a half of the 7 minutes of stoppage time have been played already. Arsenal looking to take that 1-goal advantage into the locker room. Here's Madueke. Having to go all the way back as well to keep hold of the ball. Cristian Mosquera, Zubimendi, both coming from Spanish clubs in the summer. Mosquera from Valencia and Zubimendi from Sociedad. Can you see what they're trying to do? Just spread the play quickly for Ebre Eze to try and break into it. But it looks like Nicolo Savona is playing as the right back here. And Morato might be playing as that centre half. We'll wait and see whether or not that has indeed been the case. Decent touch there by Marino, but he's forced all the way back here. Magalhaes to Raya. Beautiful pass there by Raya. Perfectly into the path of Jurrien Timber. And now Timber's on his way here. Madueke. Mosquera. Again, Arsenal almost just squeezing the life out of Nottingham Forest here. 3 minutes of stoppage time have been played. Here's Ebre Eze on the left-hand side. Tries to go around the outside. Oh, it's a decent ball and Gyökeres' movement is good. He's trying to get the blind side of the defender. Gets there first. Doesn't have the accuracy on the shot, but great play there by Ebre Eze. Just showing you what he's all but capable of doing. He's had no business to nutmeg that pass between Milinkovic's legs, because Milinkovic has done, to his credit, fair play to try and close it down, but somehow Eze squeezing the ball, nearly finding Gyökeres. Gyökeres hasn't really gotten involved in the build-up so much so far. Arsenal trying to get their Swedish striker as much service as possible. Good header there by Marino. Here's Savona. Well, Nicolo Savona. Not had too much to do since coming on. He'll be happy to see that things have been relatively under control. But Forest now will have to try in the second half. Try and plot their way back here. A few moves, few tricks up their sleeves. Have a look as to who they have on their bench in terms of attacking options. They've got James McAtee, Omari Hutchinson. Hutchinson was a £40 million move, if I'm not mistaken. They sold Anthony Elanga to Newcastle for about 50 million and got Omari Hutchinson from Ipswich Town. So that is a sizable investment. Beautiful switch out there to Ebre Eze. Mosquera's pass is brilliant, but Eze's run hasn't been timed there. Here's Sells. Had to make that one big save of Mikel Merino. Almost powerless to stop that Zubimendi strike. Oh, heavy touch there from Timber, and Arsenal a bit disjointed for the first time here, but quickly back into the position. On the left hand side is Ndoye. Gibbs White quickly turns away. He's got a bit of space, needs options though. Tries to be conservative with his passing. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Ndoye on the left hand side. All the attacking players for Forest have been congested on that left hand side. Here's Gibbs White. Again, he's almost asking for options. He's getting none here. Arsenal's defensive block, elite. Here's Milinkovic. Again, Forest forced all the way back. This is beautiful football, and the switch there by Elliot Anderson is magnificent. Callum Hudson-Odoi has to surely take on Madueke. Instead, he drifts in the central area. Strange decision. And the offside flag might have been raised or could have been a foul. The linesman is active. Well, Callum Hudson-Odoi on 3 or 4 occasions in this match has had an opportunity to go after the man. He's done it on literally 0 occasions. This time it is Noni Madueke. Go down the line, surely. I think that'll be one of the messages that Postecoglou will be relaying at the halftime whistle. He'll want a lot more from his wingers in terms of that extra bit of quality. Not even just quality, I think. It's just a bit of bravery. Like, go on, take on the man. You lose the ball, you're losing the ball anyways. Might as well do it, trying to do something positive. And I think that would be that in terms of the first half. Arsenal navigated very well. Ange Postecoglou will not be happy with what he's seen in terms of the scoreline, but he'll know that his team have done very well competing against Arsenal, who have been excellent at times, and it's taken a scorcher of a Martin Zubimendi opener to be the decisive moment as Arsenal, as it stands, will be on the top of the table here. Half-time at the Emirates Stadium, it's Arsenal 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Well, Martin Zubimendi getting his very first goal for Arsenal in spectacular fashion. The difference between the two sides here. Ange Postecoglou wouldn't have to do too much scouting report in terms of what Arsenal have in their locker to offer, but he will know that this is a different Arsenal side to last season. It's got a lot more depth, a lot more directness in their play. Ebre Eze, Noni Madueke, Victor Gyökeres trying to be those attacking players. Well, Arsenal have a good chance here. Win the game, go momentarily top of the league. Put the pressure on the likes of Chelsea, who got to play Brentford later on. That's not going to be an easy game whatsoever. Going to the GTEC Stadium, never easy. Liverpool have a relatively, I wouldn't say straightforward game, but going to Turf Moor to play against Burnley, Scott Parker's side, who were beaten against Manchester United very cruelly, I might add, in the very last moment. A Bruno Fernandes penalty denying them at least a point for Scott Parker and Burnley. So not an easy start for Burnley, going to Old Trafford, then hosting the champions. And then we have got the main event tomorrow, isn't it? It's the Manchester derby, City versus Manchester United. Well, for all the turmoil talk of Ruben Amorim and Manchester United, they've got more points than Manchester City, and that's straight facts. So the pressure is on Manchester City. As much as Amorim might get all the heat, if Manchester United are to get a result, if they are to get all 3 points, the pressure will really be on Pep Guardiola. Losing 3 out of his first 4 games, that is unheard of for Pep. So a lot of eyeballs on 2 managers that the world will be keeping an eye on. So about Enzo Maresca talking about Chelsea and how the players coming back from international duty, especially from the South American countries. We've got a heavy South American contingent. I say Enzo, Buonanotte and Garnacho didn't go, but Caicedo, João Pedro, Estevao and Andros Santos did. So Chelsea do and will continue having this problem, especially when they do play on a Saturday after the international break, because that gives one less day for recovery. I don't think Moises Caicedo is going to be anywhere but the starting 11. He goes straight in, there's no doubt about that. But then you see the likes of, does João Pedro and Estevao both start or just one of them? João Pedro pretty much has to start for Chelsea at this moment, because Liam Delap has been diagnosed with the hamstring tear or some sort of great injury there, 10 to 12 weeks. It's a bad one for him. Chelsea having to recall Mark Guehi from loan to Sunderland. So going to have a bit of problems in those forward areas. Cole Palmer is finally back in training, but don't think he should be rushed, especially against a game against Brentford. I mean, if this was a Thomas Frank Brentford, it's a different proposition, but Keith Andrews' Brentford, I mean, they are not the same Brentford that Thomas Frank left. And Frank leaving is one thing, but some of the players that they've lost have been a huge blow. I mean, Wissa and Mbeumo, losing them both in the same window is catastrophic. I mean, they've got good money out of both. Mbeumo bought north of 60 million, Wissa 50 million from Newcastle, so it's about good 100 million, but you cannot replace what those two used to do. I mean, they were an absolute terror on the counter-attack, and that completely rips that portion of the game. So now Brentford will have to try and find different solutions. Kevin Schade is a good centre forward. I like him, but then they need a lot more. They lost Christian Norgard too, who's on the Arsenal bench. So tricky times for some of the clubs, especially with new managers. Surprised that Brentford haven't gone on and appointed someone. I thought that maybe they would have done that as soon as losing somebody as the historical and authoritative figure that is Thomas Frank, and how wonderfully well he did, not just to bring Brentford back into the Premier League, but to keep them, and not just a stable team, but a real thorn. I mean, none of the top teams enjoyed going to Brentford away. I mean, that's for sure. If you picked up 3 points at the GTEC Stadium, you just felt that, wow, this might just be our season, you know. And that's the kind of team that Thomas Frank will look to build at North London. And that is a scary proposition, because he's got some good players at his disposal. And if he can build a solid unit with that exciting forward players, Spurs suddenly become a completely different beast. I mean, we talked about trajectories, right? And how certain moments in football might just change your destiny. I mean, Spurs and Manchester United were literally there. I mean, maybe United was slightly ahead because they were 15th and Spurs were 17th heading into that Europa League final, and then that defeat was heavy for Manchester United, because it not only does give Spurs the trophy, the so-called better season, gives them a route into the Champions League. They can attract good players, and I think, as a tougher decision that was, they made the right one by relieving Ange of his duties, because you cannot finish 17th and be the manager next season and have authority again just because you won a trophy. I mean, way, shape or form, and that's something that Daniel Levy had done before leaving himself. So a lot of overhaul has happened at Tottenham Hotspur over the summer, having picked up their first bit of silverware in 17 years. Interesting, very interesting times here. So keeps things engaging, and for Arsenal's point of view, I think their midfield has become so unpredictable for Nottingham Forest to try and pick out, because they're getting overrun here. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is, I would say, it's got a lot of heart, but in that midfield area, when you got three players trying to pop that ball around you, it's such a difficult task. I mean, is there an opportunity to try and bring on another midfielder? But I'm not really sure, because Arsenal will, of course, they're also chasing the game. So if you do bring on a midfielder for, say, Dan Ndoye, who has been average to say the least, you can pick out either one of the wingers to try and substitute and try and get somebody a lot more solid in the midfield area. Someone like maybe Ryan Yates comes into the side, and then you can get Douglas Luiz as an option too for Nottingham Forest. So immediately adds a bit of bite in midfield, and maybe take off somebody like one of the wingers and get Morgan Gibbs-White as a twin strike force with Chris Wood. But these are all options, opportunities for both coaches to have. But it's half time here. We should be all but set very shortly before we'll be ready for the start of the second half. Look at Forest's team. Not bad at all. Expect them to be about between 7th and 10th this season. But other than that, anything more than that would be a huge bonus. But considering they spent most of last season in 3rd, I mean, they really did raise a lot of eyebrows, and whether or not they could sustain that till the end of the season. They ended up in the Europa League spot. Unfortunate for them, but just shows you why they did get a few more progressive players, and that's why they almost expected Nuno to be sacked, wasn't he? He was going to get a few games as almost a courtesy from the owner, but I think the first chance they were going to get, they were going to sack Nuno Espirito Santos, and it's exactly what they did. And it's a new manager, different philosophy. And Ange Postecoglou has got a very good squad in his hands, so something that he can really work with. He's got the Greek connection too with Marinakis. Marinakis, of course. I mean, Postecoglou is Australian, but he's got Greek origins. Might have been a slight factor, but it's a good move, I mean, for Forest to get a manager like Ange Postecoglou, fresh off winning the Europa League. That quote was cold, wasn't it? I mean, he went from I usually win things in my second season to I always win things in my second season. And he was talking all of that when his team were in 14th, 15th, 16th even in the season. So fair play to him for not just talking the talk but walking the walk to delivering the goods. I mean, it was a non-Ange performance in that Europa League final, wasn't it? They were a lot more conservative. They were in a deeper block. They forced Manchester United to try and break them down, which United really couldn't, and could have played for another 90 minutes and wouldn't have done so. Spurs got that fortunate breakthrough to see of Brennan Johnson. Rather than that, they was very solid, weren't they? Well, Arsenal have an opportunity to go top. Since Liverpool play tomorrow and Chelsea play later on today, sets the tone early. Allows Arsenal fans to just enjoy the rest of the weekend. Having seen your team pick up the early 3 points on offer. It's the best feeling as a football fan. I think there's about 4 games after this. I mean, Newcastle is going to play Wolves. We had a lot of talk about Bruno Strand Larsen. That not happening. Instead, Nick Woltemade from Stuttgart coming in. 6'6", 6'5", 6'6" striker. Coming in for Newcastle with Johan Wissa too. But it's an opportunity here for teams to just recalibrate after the international break before yet another international break comes along in another 4 weeks. So that's what start-stop season that it's going to be and continues to be. But Arsenal with a 1-0 lead courtesy of Martin Zubimendi. The difference between the two teams, haven't seen any changes in terms of tactical ones, but there have been 2 injuries forced off. And it was 2 big presences too. I mean, if we saw Martin Odegaard coming off for that shoulder injury, and Ethan Nwaneri is taking his spot, and Murillo coming off for Nicolo Savona. Those were the 2 forced changes for both managers, as both teams back on the pitch here for the start of the second half. Nottingham Forest still chasing the goal. Wait and see whether or not any changes are made, not just in terms of personnel, but any in-game changes made by either manager. Ange Postecoglou would have had a firm word with his team here, looking to just up the tempo, the intensity, the precision involved to try and open up the Arsenal defence here. The referee has had one final look. And we're back underway for the start of the second half. Ethan Nwaneri has to go all the way back to his goalkeeper. Arsenal immediately trying to pin back the Forest defence. That's something that Ange Postecoglou will be urging his team to just try and break through the shackles of that Arsenal press. Savona playing as the right back here almost. See Morato playing as the centre half and replacing Murillo there. Here's Mosquera. He's had a comfortable afternoon against Chris Wood so far. Calafiori. Again, it's a channel ball. Brilliant pass to Eze. First time ball in. Oh, it's special from Arsenal. It's Gyökeres with the goal after Ebre Eze puts it on a plate. Well, Arsenal open up Nottingham Forest with 2 passes right at the start of the second half. It's special football from Arsenal. Gyökeres with his 3rd goal for his new club. Well, Calafiori and Ebre Eze with 2 sublime bit of passing here. Calafiori first time here. What a pass this is. Eze is, I think he's onside. If he's offside, that might just be a very tight call. Just wait and see. You can see the defender gets nowhere near that, Scavoni, and what a ball that is. First time into the path of Gyökeres, who has the good fortune of tapping it from close range. Well, the only question is whether or not Ebre Eze is onside. We'll wait and see, but that was liquid football from Arsenal. No lines being drawn. Does that only apply to Chelsea play? Looks like it. They are waiting to see. Yep, they're back underway. 2-0 here for Arsenal. Victor Gyökeres scoring his third goal. Well, all three goals of his have come at the Emirates Stadium, but just the start that he would have been hoping for after his big money move from Sporting. Calafiori's pass to Eze was just beautiful. And Eze's recognition to just hammer that along the ground. That's the kind of box striker that Arsenal have been thirsting for. Someone who just knows to do the business. Hasn't been too involved in the play, but he presses well. He's a presence. He's a handful. And if you can keep getting those kind of tap-ins, why not? Well, 3 minutes into the second half, Ange Postecoglou has just seen his half-time team talk. Just been ripped to shreds, really. Clip pass into the channel here. Here's Hudson-Odoi. Up against Timber. And Timber is on him like a rash. Brilliant defending by Jurriën Timber. Wow. Superb. But he gives the ball away. Here's Elliot Anderson. Sangare. Good pass between the lines. Here's Morgan Gibbs-White. Again, Arsenal in those central areas are so difficult to break down, and almost feels like Arsenal have this under complete control here. Arsenal have to play in a deep block. Good luck to Forest to try and break them down. Calafiori has been shoved off the ball here by Dan Ndoye. Decent ball into the box, and Gabriel defends his front post very well. It's the first time that we've seen Ndoye getting a bit of joy down that right-hand side. Away from Calafiori. Ange Postecoglou will now know that he's got a real task on his hands now. 1-0 down at the Emirates Stadium is a tough enough task, but going 2-0 down, especially such an early goal, really does kill the momentum. Elliot Anderson with the ball into the box. Cleared away by Jurriën Timber. It was Mosquera rather. Well defended again. Might have just fallen comfortably. Oh, it's on the left-hand side. Ranieri is very strong, but he's lost out there. He's got a bit of help there from Marino, who's shown great composure in tight spaces there. Nearly finds the accurate pass. Arsenal play out the press beautifully. Oh, it's just special football. The back heel, well, if that had worked out, Arsenal were in the cusp of something really special there. Here's Anderson. Chris Wood has been... I don't think this is a Chris Wood kind of game, you know. I mean, he's getting absolutely no joy. You need someone with a lot more pace and mobility to try and... Even then, when you have someone of the physical profile of Christian Mosquera and Gabriel Magalhaes, it takes a special kind of centre forward to try and play in and around them. Chris Wood... Well, he knows where the back of the goal is. He scored 20 league goals last season. He definitely knows that. But or he needs a lot more support in those central areas. He cannot do it by himself. The only opportunity that Forest had is when Gibbs-White and Chris Wood were combining in those central areas. Here's Calafiori. Calafiori is such a hybrid player, isn't he? He's so versatile, doing so many different roles. But he's been eased off the ball here by Dan Ndoye and has an opportunity. Fizzed the ball in. Oh, it hits the post. The crossbar comes to Arsenal rescue. They haven't cleared the danger. Callum Hudson-Odoi has to score. He does not pull the trigger. He waits far too long. Chris Wood nearly getting what might have been a fortuitous goal. A glove from Raya, the crossbar coming to the aid, and surely Hudson-Odoi on the follow-up had to make it 2-1. Instead, it's Arsenal on the other end here. It's Ranieri. Oh, he's just trying to curl that in. Strikes that nicely, the youngster. Well, after Nottingham Forest nearly scored, brilliant play there from Endoy to just shake off Calafiori. And it's almost an accidental header from Chris Wood. Does take a critical glove of David Raya. Nearly gets caught out there. Yep, good save there. And now Callum Hudson-Odoi has to be switched on. He isn't. He's caught on his heels. He doesn't take the first time shot. And Christian Mosquera just comes across and sweeps up. The best opportunity that Nottingham Forest have had in the second half. Probably in the game, really. Here's Elliot Anderson. Needs to see a lot more of him. Sangare nearly leaves it short there. Anderson does just about well enough. Here's Milenkovic. Again, not able to progress the ball forward. Gyökeres doing very well to press there. Here's Anderson. Again, Arsenal doing a very good job pressing here. Mikel Merino helps out in that department so well. It was the first time in this match that Forest have had slight edge in terms of possession, but they'll need to do a lot more. They need to try and work David Raya. Yes, Sangare. Good one-touch place here. Oh, the fullback does very well. The Italian battle on that left-hand side. Savona does very well. Just a cute little touch around the corner to try and get away from. I want to see whether or not Eze was offside. I mean, couldn't they have shown this when the game was on? I mean, seems that Eze was clearly onside. Yeah, I don't really trust their lines, but they have to do better though. The defending there from Savona was, if you let the ball bounce there, you're in all sorts of trouble. But a free kick here for Nottingham Forest. They need a goal back and quickly. It's Elliot Anderson who look to just feed this ball on his right foot. Can he get the accuracy spot on here? Anderson's ball in. Oh, that's a poor ball. No one really getting to it. Arsenal defend the space well. So through and for them. Elliot Anderson's quality on the ball has been slightly absent in this match. A lot of the eyeballs and the headlines would have gone towards him. Started both games, if I'm not mistaken, against Andorra and Serbia for England. Almost like a deputy for Declan Rice, isn't he? And speaking of Declan Rice, seems that he might get 90 minutes off here. And that very rarely happens for Declan Rice, who's always available for Arsenal. Not just available, but plays 90 minutes. So for them to rest Rice and possibly give him the day off just shows you what kind of performance this has been from Arsenal. As it stands, they will be momentarily top of the league. That will change if Chelsea beat Brentford at the GTEC Stadium. And Liverpool being hosted by Burnley at Turf Moor tomorrow. Good switch of play there, and Doyle trying to get that on the slide. Never really going to get there. Applauded the effort though, but not enough. Well, 10 minutes into the second half, Arsenal have been relatively trouble-free. That chance that Chris Wood's header, what it could have been, might have made things slightly awkward, but since then Arsenal, the way that they've popped the ball around, defended their spaces, it's been quite good to watch. And I'm only talking from a neutral point of view. On the right hand side, here's Madueke. Strong challenge there by Williams. Here's Madueke again. Here's Magalhaes. Calafiori played a huge part in that second goal. His passing is brilliant, and now Arsenal just turning up the style and the sauce. Marino's ball in. Oh, it's Wanyeri who's just latched onto it and had the opportunity to finish off the most scrumptious of Arsenal moves here. What a lovely pass this is from Calafiori. The back heel from Eze is brilliant. Marino picks out Ethan Wanyeri. Now Wanyeri, if he sees from that right hand side, If he can just open up the pass, you're looking at Noni Madueke having acres of space and an opportunity to just pass it into the far corner. But that was brilliant movement here again. And the new players for Arsenal, see, 1 year he's just slotted in comfortably since coming on. Arsenal pretty much using their bench here, their squad depth, and they're putting away Nottingham Forest with ease. What a lovely switch out to Calafiori. Ball into the box here. A little too much on it. Madueke does recover it. Here's Noni Madueke. And goes around the outside. It's brilliant from him. The cutback. Nobody really there. Here's Sangare. I think it's the point now where Ange really has to go for it, but he also wouldn't want a spanking as his first game in charge of Nottingham Forest. That's the last thing you want, really. If he wants to win this game, he'll have to try and make a substitution. Any substitution, really. Here we see the likes of Omari, Hutchinson, Yates, McAfee. There are options. Here's Milinkovic. Decent pass. Chris Wood. Enjoy. Oh, clever bit of footwork there from Enjoy. Oh, he's trying to con the referee there. It's a clear as day dive, and referee having nothing. Doesn't even book him, but Arsenal on the break here, and Ebreze trying to just breeze past Anderson. He's somehow managed to find Gyökeres, and now Gyökeres runs with the ball here. Has an opportunity for the thread pass. Instead, he finds Noni Madueke on the right-hand side. Here's Noni Madueke. It's Gyökeres on the outside. Gyökeres! Oh, he's thundered that against the frame of the goal. From a tight angle, the shot power was ludicrous there from the Swede. He gave it the almighty thump here. Well, Sells would have been disappointed to be beaten from there, but he was powerless, really. If it had just found that postage stamp because of the power at which it was struck. Again, fluid play this from Arsenal. Madueke very clever to identify that the run was being made by Gyökeres down the right-hand side. Double substitution here for Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood comes off. You might see Delane Bakwa for the first time. And Hudson-Odoi, yep, that's a right call. He's not had a good game whatsoever. So number 15, Arnaud Kalimuendu, and number 29, Delane Bakwa coming on for Nottingham Forest. Double substitution here from Ange Postecoglou. Is that the changes that might inspire them? It's Ebreze, though, who's found the ball onto the left-hand side. Oh, clever. Well, you can see what Calafiori is trying to do. They just bend that into the channel. He's got the license to pretty much be anywhere on the pitch here, Calafiori, because of his recovery pace that he has. He is rapid. He can so comfortably play, not just along the back four, but also in midfield. He can bomb on forward. We've seen his passing range. Complete player. See the collection of Arsenal defenders that they have. I mean, it is frightening. You talked about Piero Hincapi, who was really going to open some eyes there. It's brilliant play there from Bakwa. Well, Delane Bakwa has just picked up the ball with an immaculate first touch to pluck the ball out of the sky. The first time really that we've seen Calafiori just trying to struggle a little bit defensively. Picks up a yellow card. Just under half an hour remaining here. Very good play there from Bakwa. Just a lot more direct in his approach. We saw a lot more of the shimmy and shake from Enjoy. Need a lot more directness in their play here. As Forest chase a goal here, goal will make things a lot more interesting. Otherwise, I see a very comfortable half an hour here for Arsenal. Mikel Merino, great press resistance there from the big Spaniard. Arsenal have a lot of technical players. I mean, their squad is full of them. Douglas Luiz has been sent to warm up, but then asked to sit back down here as Arsenal pinch the ball here, looking for the third. Marino carries. He's got Gyökeres on the left-hand side. Does find the sweet striker, who should be a lot more central instead of the left-hand side. Bakwa helps out defensively. Savona finds Milenkovic. Here Sangare allowed to turn. Oh, it's such a risky pass. Mosquera reads that brilliantly. What a player Mosquera is, man. I mean, Christian Mosquera is a shoehorn. And to think that he is the understudy for William Saliba, it allows Arsenal to even play as a back three very comfortably. I mean, big game at Europe. Maybe go with that back three of Mosquera, Saliba and Gabriel. Change a lot of things there. Here's Eze. Eze again, who's got an assist on his first start for his boyhood club. Beautiful switch out here to Noni Madueke on the right hand side. Now into the box. It's Madueke looking to just drive that ball into the box. Drill it with his right foot. Here's Madueke again. Now the ball into the box. Easily cleared. Here's Gabriel again. Magalhaes looking for the shot. Well defended. Here's Calafiori. Zubamendi, who got the party started with a absolute firecracker. Here's Mosquera now. What a pass that is onto the right-hand side. And Arsenal playing this game at a walking pace before they look to just step it up here. Can they win the second challenge very comfortably here? Sangare has to do a lot better to secure the ball. Here's Zubamendi. And it's Mosquera just easing forward with the ball. Comfortably done here. Clip pass onto the left hand side. Here's Ebreze. Wanyeri. Marino. Eze again. Marino. This is a frustrating period for Nottingham Forest, really. Can't get hold of the ball. And here's Eze now. Clever feet. Oh, Ebreze is just like a ballerina in those tight spaces. Elliot Anderson trying his best Ebreze impersonation, and he does well. Trying to hold off the challenge here. Kalimuendu trying to hold off the ball and the challenge of Christian Mosquera. Really done better than what Chris Wood has done in the entire match. Here's Bakwa. Here's Ndoye. Kalimuendu again. Patient from Forest. Can want to try and force a few more saves of David Raya before the 90 minutes. Clever pass there from Bakwa. He's looked pretty sharp since coming on. The through pass attempt there from Sangare has been easily cut out. You can see what he's trying to do though. But Arsenal on the break here. And this is a lot of danger for Nottingham Forest if Arsenal get this right here. Here's Madueke. Goes around the outside. Breezes past the challenge. How's the cutback? It's not as good as the approach players. Morato comes across and makes the challenge. Another corner here for Arsenal. And Noni Madueke has had a dynamic game at right wing here. Good shift, and the way that he just turns the pace on. He's got an extended run of games on that right wing courtesy of Saka's injury. So this is a very good bedding in period here for Noni Madueke. If Saka was playing, it will definitely start. So Madueke would be seeing a lot more minutes, A, off the bench, and B, on the left-hand side. So that Saka injury might be a blessing in disguise here for Noni Madueke and Arsenal. But you don't want to see that, because you want to see Saka on the pitch if you're an Arsenal fan. Because he is their best attacker, head and shoulders. As the flick on there is pretty interesting there from Gyökeres. Could have been very awkward if it just clipped the top of the crossbar. Celso was just happy to see that go. Under 25 minutes remain here. Arsenal 2-0 and cruising. Martin Zubamendi and Victor Gyökeres, the two summer acquisitions on the score sheet. Asking a lot of Bakwa there. That's one way of getting your team up the pitch. Arsenal looking for a bit more technical security in their defensive areas. Here's Miles Lewis-Kelly. He's being ready for action here. It's a shot from distance. And Kali Moendo was just looking for a bit of separation from Gabriel Magalhaes before he try and hit that with his right foot, but will be a corner for Forest. Don't think Arsenal will make the change. Miles Lewis-Kelly has got tremendous attributes. Height isn't one of them, so just wait before. After the corner's taken, as Arsenal looking to just protect their 2-0 advantage here at home. Looking to go 9 points out of 12 after the first 4 games. There's a ball into the box, easily headed away. And it's a set PC situation here for Nottingham Forest. They want to use, but they decide against it, and it will be Miles Lewis-Kelly coming on. Ricardo Calafiori gets 67 minutes under his belt. Just shows you again how deep Arsenal's defense is. Taking off Calafiori for Ethan Nwaneri, and talking about security, they're bringing on Declan Rice for Victor Gyökeres. That is a sign of locking things down if I've ever seen one. Well, Rice and Lewis-Kelly coming on here as Arsenal just look to shut up shop here. 2-0 is what they're expecting to just complete this, and it's job well done and be temporarily on top. Well, I think Milenkovic is just trying to hobble here, and Forest's afternoon is just might go from bad to worse to the absolute car crash, because they not just lose 3 points but potentially lose both their centre half. So just keep an eye out on Milenkovic. And Forest have been really limited here in terms of opportunities. Good pass between the lines. Can Arsenal in their defensive shape so difficult to break down. 69.5 minutes gone. Here's Milenkovic. He is hobbling, but still finding those forward areas. It's a decent bit of play. What a ball. Brilliant defending. Is that Mosquera? I think it is. Bakwa has just floated in a peach of a ball. Wow. Well, Christian Mosquera's, and look at that pass from him as well. I mean, Mosquera's a complete player. What have Arsenal unearthed here for just about £10 million? Here's Ebre Eze now. And his outside of the boot pass, well intercepted. Well, Christian Mosquera is just a scary player, really. I want to see who made that interception. That header was excellent. Comes away with the ball, and then his passing is accurate. I mean, I asked the question before and I'll ask it again. How did Valencia allow this man to go out for 10 million quid? I mean, something's wrong. Well, Valencia's loss is Arsenal's gain. Talked about their defensive depth in Mosquera and Piero Hincapié. Very formidable. Here's Timber. In 20 minutes plus stoppage time remain here. Forest haven't really threatened David Raya. Only real chance that they've had was a accidental header by Chris Wood. Oh, it's a loose pass there from Gabriel. And Forest respond with a loose pass themselves. Zubomendi fires the ball to Nwaneri. Immediately picks out Noni Madueke on the right hand side. Fluid again from Arsenal. Here's Madueke. Oh, clever on the right-hand side. Oh, Declan Rice was waiting for a tap-in. Urian Timber, who finally made up the ground on the outside, trying to just fire that in. Clever from Madueke again. Look, he's waited before Timber makes the run. Timber's first time ball in couldn't have been any more perfect, really. You talked about the change. Gyökeres for Declan Rice. Does Gyökeres get in the end of that? Pretty much a tap in for him. Has that striker's movement, that striker's instinct. Here's Milinkovic. Arsenal yet to concede a goal at home. 1-0 against Manchester United away. For them, they've had a good start, considering the difficulty of oppositions. Exactly what you expected from Arsenal. It almost feels like this is the year where we see Arsenal and Arteta make that next step. Double substitution here for Forest. James McAtee coming on. Well, Gibbs White is coming off. Shows you how ineffective he has been. And so is Ibrahim Sangare. So the number 6 and the number 10 come off. James McAtee and Ryan Yates. Come on, they try and change the course of this match. They have their work cut out, that's for sure. Douglas Luiz still remains on the bench. All the cameras panning on to the man who had, I think he's come from loan, isn't he, from Juventus. I think Forest have made the purchase. Wait and see whether or not that will change over the course of the season. But Douglas Luiz, of course, for those who have watched the Premier League for a bit of time, they'll know that how well he used to play in midfield alongside John McGinn and Yuri Tielemans for Aston Villa. Since then, he moved to Juventus, never really set himself, lost his place to the likes of Locatelli, Kefren Thuram, and now finds himself on the bench in Nottingham Forest. But it's early days, it's a new manager, so it's an opportunity to just try and re-establish yourself. Just make sure that the manager knows about you. Almost as a test, isn't it, when you're bringing on, when you have, as a midfielder, and you know you're playing in a pivot, you see 3 midfielders who are ahead of you. That is Elliot Anderson, Ibrahim Sangare, and Ryan Yates. It's not a good sign, but still, it's a long season, plenty of competitions. Timber is so strong and nimble, brilliantly done. The 1-2 doesn't find Timber, but they get the corner here. But Urian Timber has just now added another gear to his game. Didn't see him bust a gut and get forward at all in the first half, but you're seeing a lot more adventure from the Dutch fullback, just showing you his complete range. It's not just an expert defender. He can invert into midfield. He can play on the outside. Saw him put that brilliant ball across the face of the goal for Declan Rice. As Arsenal, though, have the 8th corner. I think Noni Madueke has taken 7 of them. Well, the corner is pretty poor. It might be a foul there. It is. I think that was Christian Mosquera who committed the foul. 15 minutes per stoppage time remain here for Nottingham Forest. Haven't really threatened the Arsenal goal since going down 2-0 in the second half. Early in the second half too. Gabriel's defending is so aggressive. Very well done. Here's Wanyeri. Well, Noni Madueke. Timber. Zubimendi. Arsenal in comfortable and familiar territory here. 2-0 lead at home with the ball. Crowd on their side. Brilliant change of direction there from Eze. Eze with the ball into the box. It's asking a lot from that header, but Ebre Eze showing what he's all about. Just that acceleration was scary. Just drops the shoulder. Next thing you know, you're just chasing. Dangerous. But in terms of wide players, Arsenal completely, well, 2 different players from what they had last season. Eze and Madueke both signed this summer. Just give them that extra directness. Martinelli and Saka are pretty direct themselves. Here's Rice, Eze. The England teammates combine. Lewis Kelly. Talked about international involvements. Arsenal's team has got a fair few representing their country at a very high level. Talked about Eze, Madueke, Lewis Kelly, Declan Rice. That's 4 just on the top of my head. Here's Lewis Kelly now. Had that breakthrough season last season. Scored the goal against Manchester City in that 5-1 victory. He was brilliant in the Champions League against Real Madrid. I thought he was head and shoulders their best player. I mean, Declan Rice got all the plaudits, and rightfully so, for his free kicks and his work on and off the ball. But what a spread that is to Madueke. He has a run on Williams. If he looks to go after him, he does. Burns him with absolute heat. Williams has to take the yellow card. Could have been a lot worse. Noni Madueke, when he isolates the fullback, well, he really is trouble, isn't he? Neco Williams picks up a yellow card. Arsenal have yet another set piece opportunity for Arsenal. 3 points pretty much guaranteed here. Madueke is coming off. I think so is Eze, and Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli coming on for Arsenal. And Noni Madueke gets a standing ovation from his new crowd, his new fans. £52 million move from Stamford Bridge, Chelsea, now materializing, and now seems like a North London boy here. Martinelli and Leandro Trossard, who were both vying for a spot on the left-hand side for this season, will now find themselves both on the bench. And as I mentioned before, for Douglas Luiz, he's the third choice. He's the fourth choice from 2 spots. And when you see the likes of Eze, Saka, Noni Madueke, and then you see your names, it just shows you, as Declan Rice thought about it, I don't know why he didn't hit it. As a ball in, the header loops in, it's 3-0, it's Zubimendi again, it's game over. Nottingham Forest fall asleep at the back post. It's another set-piece routine that works in Arsenal's favour. Arsenal go top of the league here. 3-0, all 3 points. Matt Sells gets beaten by the header. Martin Zubimendi, well, he doesn't have the most towering of presences, but he times his run perfectly here. Look, everybody's gone to sleep. Nobody's marking Rice. Nobody's marking Trossard. Trossard just loops the ball in. Yep, he's clearly onside too. Clever pass. And talk about making an impact straight off the bench. Leandro Trossard with a nice clip pass towards the far stick. Zubimendi with a brace. Arsenal 3-0. And it's game over. Well, that should be that. It's going to be 10 more painful minutes for Nottingham Forest. They've made their changes. They've conceded all the goals possible in different kinds of fashions. I mean, set pieces, you can't keep conceding them. You know that Arsenal will make you pay. Had a lot of those early corners which they defended very well. You keep giving them set pieces, they'll make you pay. And that's exactly what they've done. 2 goals have come from set piece situations, although not directly from set pieces. But that's what Arsenal are. And the second goal was just a thing of beauty. Full time, yeah, I mean, it's going to be more for Arsenal rather than another goal for Forest, because they haven't really threatened David Raya. Almost seems like a formality in the next 10 minutes as Ange Postecoglou surely tasting his first defeat as the new manager of Nottingham Forest. Arsenal 3-0 here.